Rajambanya, Zobel Sanjeri, Vadan Shansunde, Devarisha Banjin, Jamanjavon, Divya Kano, Lana Melvan, Adam Menanje, Damba Sanjay, Benjawa Shajan Tuban, and Roger Jasu, Damba Jumden, the Shinshavan Jasu, Yandavan Zobel Sanjeri, Vadan Shansun, Devarisha Banjin, Jamanjavon, Divya Kano, Lana Melvan, Adam Menanje, Damba Sanjay. Benjawa Shajan Tuban, Lasa, and Roger Jasu. Remember, Jim then the Shin one Jumba Yanda, Ribatan, Shazun, Demban, they were a ship on Jidenja. Given the Verkano, Givalana, Meban, Adam Menon Sanjay Jim then the Benjawa Shajan Tuban, Lasa. Should the Jazu share or consequence of what Jadams. Sergeant and now combined them Brune and Jiden, the Najus. Tezekava Jana Chas and Nanda Kunga. Yishajazu Sejon Humboda, Tava Jeden, Gombo Chuni Jona Chas and Chenjo Demba Chimenta. Sendon Rawa Jona Chas and Dure Cheras. Yame Chenjin Jona Chas and Gombo Tuji. Tamje Tembe Dembo, Sonam Yunden Jazu. Yishin Shana Chas and Taben de Jatawa. Giving as on the dredging, Chidu Television. Shinju Jona Chas and Trena Trevor. Labatala Rabdo Ne, Shinga Tamba Yende, Gendela Yacha, the Wachian Mrs. Givapus of Wachia Rangasin, Tina Sanje Damba, Karmara Rima, Yomasa, Shubrata, Melamada Jeta, the Jation de Reta, Sonam de Yatam Jessica, Comantum Nejin Radio de Gada Shiba, Siveson and Wonder Variation.
To the teacher, the blessed one, full destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened me, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Srivata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and kings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, blessed one,
the first conquer, the secure, like a crown, the prostrate make offer and go for refuge. To the teeth, the breast one, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completed, the perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct. Sugata, knower of the world, supreme God, obedience to be ten, teacher of God.
To you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious one,
the glorious conqueror, the secure from the ship. I prostrate, make offering and go for refuge. To the breast one, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completed, the perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in the Sugata, knower of the world, supreme God, beings to be met, each of God's and humans, to the completed and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the girl's conqueror, the secure from the sheltered kind. I prostrate, make offering and go for refuge. When all spring among humans who rule his earth, he pays up for his name's sake, and he gives this order to you who are wise men, I prostrate. With your form supremely pure, with motion like a blood and mind, placing in the three worlds, with the best to you, I prostrate. With the supreme science, great like stars, covered like gold. You are prostrate. Your immaculate and three worlds are not incomparable with one. Wise one, the fifth position that and the fifth is quality that the master, the leader of the one time to study and prostrate. The purity of which makes one free from attachment, the virtue of which is one from the the supreme purity to the which has been across. Those are liberated in the Holy Spirit qualified with the realization, who are deep to the moral precept to use humanity intended to life. Do not in any language deception from only perfect subject the teaching of the Buddha. The friend of an illusion, the truth, the truth, Raja Bhajan, the conditions in myself. Through this awareness, I can be able to break up
Through these
severe
ranks may sentient beings
and the
within
people
the
from the ocean of
subdue the
suffering.
waterfalls and be delivered from emotions of suffering, radiation, sickness, and death.
Sanjay no so je no chanju pa no da de ja da gen chen so je be so no je do la ben je sanjay no so je no chanju pa no da de ja da gen chen so je be so no je do la ben je sanjay no so je no chanju pa no da de ja da gen chen so je be so no je do la ben je sanjay no so je chanju pa no da de ja da gen chen so je be so Dollar pinches, Sanjay Show.
I go for refuge until
But what if we didn't enlighten to the mind, through the merit whereby being given and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the merit acquired by practicing given and the other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit acquired by practice, giving, and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Chanju Sambanam Yawa Pabe Kazana Jangan Ishepado Mego, Boba Sunday Mijo, so number of Yan Yani Moguja Davan Shomisha Bogosoma, the Vata, Suda, Sumemata, Dungela number to Bopumota, number to come on the middle by Gajan, number Shillich, Yon Noata, number two. Sivale to Chul and give a Yishio to the Devata Majumba, the Jumba, the Yishela there. Yangan Devala Medava Yanda when Yatana, Simjatum Jealousy by Salashuba. The Dania Sanjum Dedi, Gucci and the Yanda Tabation, the Tomango, Mother, Tomango. Kansan Western Reserve, my dear Yozo, Yozo Chow. Yanda Bato, Nenda, Tushavam, Yavato, Deto, Keban, the Sosa. Jumdendi and wasn't returned to one level, Yavacho, Zobich, Midumba mentioned the water, the Matemba you were Tabachi begin. Leverage sugar, river sugar, tumble sugar, too much, charge of Sonam Yepeji, the uniform to watch him, but Jimmy, this will give a good one, Jimmy, Chambo. Kangi attention to what you want to make him one member to remember that. Giovanni said the months of his son, Tabatella Charles. So we are on the page 246.
246. Big paragraph.
Okay. So how the ultimate and conventionals become as such from the perspective of ordinary beings and Aryas. So now so at the first in the early page, this first is trying to explain the two truths, the conventional truth, the ultimate truths, and then the conventional truths divided into two, right? Conventional truths divided into two. What's that? Conventional reality
that is unreal even in conventional knowledge, and then general conventional truths, right? like any So the which means the mirror image and the mirror image and the mirage as water, and then the reflections. So these are unreal even in the conventional knowledge, but still considered as a conventional truth. Right? So then, other than that, like tables, trees, the human beings, cause and effect, all conditional things are conventional truths. So it's a true, even in the in the face of the conventional knowledge. So table is the truth, true to even in conventional knowledge. So mirage image is not real, it's not true even in the conventional knowledge, right? So the both are considered to be conventional truth. So these, why I think the table trees are, true in the sense the conventional knowledge, because the conventional knowledge could not understand the, unreal of the conventional reality. So conventional knowledge. So, and conventional knowledge can understand the unreal of the mirror image. Right? So mirror image is not real, that understood in conventional. Right? And then the tables, trees, the human being, the self of the persons, and the relation, the cause and effect. These are ultimately untrue, unreal, but it is real to the conventional knowledge, right? So then, I think the reason, because the conventional knowledge is still under the grip of the misconception, is not really, free from the misconceptions, conventional knowledge. So, and now here it's saying the dividing the true truths, conventional knowledge, conventional truth and ultimate truth, from the perspective of ordinary beings and Aryas. So almost like saying that from the Arya's view, from the Arya's views, it is the ultimate truth. From the ordinary, point of view, is almost everything is real. Everything is true, truly exists. Right. So from the Arya's point of view, only the emptiness is true. Other than that, not truly exist. Yeah, I think this is really kind of, our eye consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, even the inferential cognitions are still under the grip of the misconceptions. So it's not free from the misconceptions. Therefore, many things that is mistaken with respect to the object. Yeah. So in the Chandrakirti also says, if your eye consciousness and those sensory perceptions are, is the valid or not mistaken at all, and why do you need the Arya's noble wisdom? Right? You can rely on them. So you cannot rely on your eye consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, even the mental consciousness, inferential cognitions. Still, it causing it caused the suffering, it caused the conflicts, it caused the confusions. So which means even the inferential cognitions, the sensory perceptions are still, underpinned with the misconceptions. It's not free from the misconceptions. So therefore, conventional truths at the last word, the truth. Why it put truths? Although conventional, it is conventional, therefore it does not truly exist. And why you put truth? Because the conventional are truth for the conventional knowledge, conventional perceptions. So in the mundane we say, is it true or not true? Right. So the barley sprout arises from the barley seed. It is true or not true? So we say it's true. So which means in our we have kind of this belief. We are so convincing that is arising of the sprout is that truly exist. So we say it's true. Right. So the sprout arises from the seed is truly exist. So this is why we say conventional truths is truth conventionally, not ultimately truth. It's conventionally truth. Right? It's ordinarily true. It is the, So Superman flying in the skies, right? It's true for the audience who is watching this movie, right? True for them. But there is no Superman who is flying in the sky, right? So it is true for those audience, so who are believing, who is really they see this. So therefore, conventional truths, the word truth means for that perspective is true, right? So now dividing this two is from the perspective of ordinary in Aryas. The commentary says that which is the ultimate for ordinary beings is merely conventional for those Aryas who still possess the sphere of experience within which dualistic perceptions remain. Emptiness, the nature of these merely conventional entities, is the ultimate truth for them. So, which is the ultimate for the ordinary beings is, so for the ordinary beings, what is true is what they see, what they smell, what they hear, what they feel bodily, right? And what they come to understand mentally are, for them is the truth. So merely conventional. So for the ordinary is ultimate, and so it's merely conventional for those areas who still possess the sphere of experience within. So for the areas, these are just conventional. There is no sense of truth in it, right? And then the question is, so does that mean the Arya beings, Aryas, the central perceptions, don't see any trueness in conventional reality? So then it says, dualistic perceptions remain, so which means the post-meditation state, the I consciousness, nose consciousness still see that, the truly existence of the conventional reality, even for the Arya beings. And what is the emptiness? And the emptiness, the nature of these merely conventional entities. Emptiness means it's the ultimate truth, pure nature of, every conventional realities. So that is the ultimate truth. So you understand, right? And now this is, which is the ultimate for the ordinary being, is merely conventional, right? So it's kind of saying that for the ordinary beings, whatever things they see is ultimate. So those things that ordinary beings are ultimate, for the Aryas is not ultimate. It's mere conventional, mere conventional, mere ordinarily exist. I think still, in this, we say in Tibetan, kunzup. So kunzup, kun means many, from many, kind of from collectively, how's that? Zoba means it kind of, it deceived, or kind of deceptive, or impure, or not clear, or that kind of, collectively something happened, something exists, and that deceives the mind, that not letting the mind to see the ultimate reality, right? So meaning of the first part is this: the phenomena such as vast, which ordinary beings grasp as possessing ultimate existence. So from the ordinary perceptions, when you see the table is ultimately truth. Remain merely conventional for the three class of Aryas refuted, right? Referred to above. So three Aryas, the two Arahat, and the Bodhisattvas from the 8 bhumis, the last, the 7th, and then 8, 9, 10 bhumis. For them, it's just, there is no truly existence. It's just conventional, relatively exist, right? Like a rainbow-like existence, like a dream-like existence. There is no such, sense of truth in any conventional realities. So who experience dualistic perceptions in post, equipoise state, after arising from the meditative equipoise. So these conventional realities, they happen to appear to the Arya beings, or particularly the three, two Arhat and Bodhisattvas from the 8 bhumi, that appears as a conventional. So which means even the 8 bhumis, they have the dualistic perceptions. So now here the dualistic perceptions means, the sense of kind of, there's the independent of subject and object. So they still have this. So not because of the afflictive emotions, because the stain of the afflictive emotion that still lead them to see there's some kind of dualistic there. So when you reach the Buddhahood, and that dualistic is totally, cease to exist, disappears. So that's why we have this kind of questions. If Buddha has no dualistic, and Buddha, then almost he has no concept of, conventional, conceptually distinctive and essentially identical. Right? So conceptually distinctive, essentially identical is the reality. It is the conventional reality. Like, so nation and the individuals, nation and peoples, individuals, is conventionally distinctive, essentially identical. A forest and the trees, as conceptually distinctive, two separate phenomena, essentially identical. Right. So essentially a one. Right. And then so these conventional realities, if the Buddha has no concept of, dualistic, and Buddha, omniscient mind is not being able to see that reality. If the omniscient mind is not being able to see that reality, so because the omniscient is not seeing, is existing, therefore, and that reality may not be exist at all. Because the Buddha is the all-knower, so the omniscient, right? So he is the all-knower, and whatever things that he sees not exist, and that should be not exist. So if that is exist, why not, Buddha, explicitly understand this kind of reality? If Buddha understands that dualistic reality, and Buddha, the omniscient, should have the dualistic perceptions. So that's why last time you said, when the doctors diagnoses the problem in the patients, that does not mean the doctor should have this kind of same problem. So the Buddha sees that dualistic perception within the sentient beings, but not from him. Right? So who experience the dualistic perception in the post-equipoise state, after arising from the meditative equipoise. Thus, Chandrakirti's statement negate such phenomena to be true for these beings. Chandrakirti's statement negates such phenomena to be true for these beings. It does not negate these to be conventional truth for them. So dualistic, dualistic perspective or dualistic realities, conventional realities, it is a conventional truth for these three ayas. The hearer, right? Hearer arhat, and the solitary arhat, and then Pratika Buddha, Pratika arhat, or the Bodhisattvas from the 8 bhumis, is a conventional truth, but and it also does not suggest that the conceived object of ordinary beings whose grasp vast and so on, having ultimate existence, become the conventional for the ayas. So they say table, ordinary people sees the table is ultimate truth. That table, it appears or perceived by the Arya, So Arya sees the table is not ultimate truth. The ordinary being's table sees the ultimate truth. So the conceived object means, truly existing on the table is the conceived object of these ordinary beings. That object is not appears to the Arya beings, because that object is something that is negated, or we are refuting to existence. I think Lama Tsongkapha is too kind of too precise here, because some master may, when you read the statements, the commentaries, which is the ultimate for the ordinary beings, is merely conventional for those aryas. So some people make commentaries or kind of comment on that. Or anything that sees ultimate truth, that ultimate truth, anything that sees the ultimate truth by the ordinary beings has to be, conventional for the Arya beings. So this is not really, accurate in comment. So they have to say anything that thing that sees ultimate by the ordinary are conventional for the Arya beings. So just the conceived object. So it's here the conceived object and the object is two different things. So vast and so on, having ultimate existence, becomes the conventional for the Aryas. Such conceived object have no existence at all. Table being truly existing is the conceived object for the ordinary beings. That object, conceived object, is non-existing because it's a superimposition, right? So, like for example, the ordinary beings, conceive the self, a person, is independent, self-sufficient. So that conceived object is, in general, it is not existence, right? Because that is superimposition. As for the latter part of the citations, it states that ultimate nature of the things, which is the nature of the dependent originated conventional truth, is the ultimate for the Aryas. So to assert that one and the same things, and the same thing, a vast, for example, it's still is itself conventional truth for the ordinary beings, conventional truth for the ordinary beings, and ultimate for the Arya, contravenes the meaning of this text, such the utterance, reveals the ignorance of the fact that to establish the something as a conventional truth. So entails that it is the negated, the first, as the true within the perspective of that cognitions. So it's the same thing I said earlier. So you should not be, read like, so anything that is ordinary being conceives truly existing, that conceived objects for the Arya is conventional truths, right? So the conceived object and then actual object or focal objects. So the object, there's too many, right? Many things. The table, so for the eye, eye consciousness is, eye consciousness is not conceiving anything. Your thought consciousness is conceiving, which means your thought consciousness is trying to understand the table, right? Trying to perceive the table through its own projections. So the projections, through projections, you're trying to understand the table I think it is the way you conceive the table. Right? So the conceive means you go shema. Shema means like, blind man who's trying to reach the place by, relying on something else, like counting the numbers and steps, or, touching something. Oh, I'm here now. Right? So the thought is like that. So thought has to go through the logic and the reasonings. Without using the reasoning, it's like a blind man trying to go to the place. So next, the commentary reads, what is the ultimate for the Buddha is true nature alone. What is the ultimate for the Buddha is the true nature alone. So Tathagat. So Tathagat means Tat is the realities, ultimate reality. Gat means one who is inseparable with the true natures. Right? So because it never deceives, it is the ultimate truth, and it is known by the Buddha alone. So which means so without any mediations, right? Without any mediations. And every time Buddha sees things, he sees as it is, right? Mentally, or through the sensory perceptions or the mental perceptions. He sees exactly as it is. So there is no dual, what do you call it? Dual, perception or dual property that, The word alone in it is true nature alone. Is the term exclusions. It excludes that. It demonstrates how the ultimate truth of the Buddha is unlike shifting, right? Characteristic of other Aryas. Yeah. So saying that alone means in the state of Buddhahood or state in the from the point of view of the omniscience, it sees only ultimate truths, and which implying that those Aryas, like true Arhats and Bodhisattvas, 8 Bhumi, 9 Bhumi, 10 Bhumis, so they are shifting characteristics. When there's single point in meditating, and then it sees the ultimate as it is. When you come out of meditations, and then they sees the conventional realities as some kind of intrinsic nature. So Aryas whom the ultimate truth is presented as the absence of dualistic perceptions during the meditative equipoise, but they characterized by the dualistic perceptions in the post-equipoise. Thus, it suggests that what is the ultimate for the Buddha constitute, the unlike the nature of things, which is the true natures upon which Buddha remains equipoised at all times. So we call Nyamba Masha Mingawans. There is no time the Buddha is not in a single point in meditating. It's always. So this is like, and sometimes we call, when we draw the mandala, we call Tsangti mandala. In the center point, you have some kind of, there's what called pin there. You at the center you put, and then you draw the right. If you move to the center, and then what do you call? Yeah, you miss the circle. Yeah. So it's like Buddha is always, his mind is in the centered in that ultimate forever. So there is no mistake, right? So it's Arya beings like those the 3 Aryas, because when they come out from meditations and center point is just missing there. So then you may grab something else, right? You may draw like round as a like egg shape. So the perception, the post-ego voice is suggested. Yeah, the purpose of the statement, because it never deceives, is to define the meaning of the truth as that which abide as undeceiving from the perspective of seeing suchness, so as to demonstrate how such ultimate truth does not constitute the true existence. So, Nyamba Mashava Mingawas. So Buddha can only kind of act, while he is in, single-pointedly meditating in emptiness. So other than Buddha, they are not able to do that, because when they act physically, verbally, and mentally, they act, and they have to leave the meditations. So they leave from the meditations. So I think that's the Tathagata. Tathagata. He's perfectly, completely, totally went in that suchness. There is no coming back. There is no leaving that object. So,
I have a question. So, Buddha never leaves single-pointed meditation. It's inseparable. So, for example, when someone gives a teaching on Dharma, and you often have to kind of center yourself, like you have to contemplate.
Yeah.
How does that relate if Buddha is always in single pointed? In that case, is that an inferential thing? Like how does their mind relate? How should it be thought of? I guess.
Can you make it a little bit clearer?
Yeah. So somebody who's teaching Dharma, they are not in single-pointed meditation.
Yeah.
But their mind is still in relation to
Yeah.
that. So what is their state of mind? What is that kind of?
So you mean the disciples' state of mind or Buddha's state of mind?
The disciples, yes. Or like the Lama's state of mind, whatever you want to say. Like anybody who's talking about Dharma, because it's like talking about Dharma and ultimate truth, but like it is obviously not to the same level of the Buddha. So.
Yeah. I think that, yeah. because he said omniscient. So, there's a saying that if you when you put the mark on the table or in the ground, so Buddha sees under that mark and how many the atoms, the particles, instantly reveals that, and how many sentient beings underneath that, right? So it's kind of the instantly understands, reveals that kind of realities. So while Buddha is always in that single-pointed meditations, and he teaches, explains things at the same time, and he exactly understands each of the sentient beings, their mental dispositions, mental capacities, and their desires. So when the Buddha gives teachings, it always gives whatever is suitable at the time. So Buddha say, "Oh, I know this ultimate, and I will teach everybody know." So whatever that is suitable, whatever he can understand, because he understands each of your mind functions and your kind of mental dispositions. So this is only the Buddha can do that. So there's a Prajnaparamita Sutras. I think it's gone from the many pages. There's when Buddha was teaching emptiness for the audience. And then there's a group of monks, they kind of live very far. So they are there's a community, the group. And their main kind of interest in how they train their, and more like about the meditation, single-pointed meditations. So they have not much understanding of the dependent arising, the emptiness. They have almost, it is aliens to them. So when they come to that group, and the Buddha continues to give teaching, and they say, oh, we never heard of it. It's not really making sense to us. He's not talking about the meditations. And then they stand up and then leave. And while Buddha is continues to give teachings, and there's the emanation, Buddha sent another monk. So, when they were living, maybe they are in the forest or some place, and they met one monk. And the monk says, why are you coming back from the teaching? And they says, oh, this is really out of our knowledge. So we have no interest in this. We were taught Buddha is giving us some kind of instructions about the meditations. And then this monk, they say, so where are you coming from? And then they talk about the dependent originations. And then they come to understand, oh, is that what Buddha is talking about? And then they go back. So that monk is also the Buddha's emanations. So while he was giving teachings, some people confused and they leave. And then he also teach them, and then they return back to the class. So it's kind of, it's not really quality that's maybe the quality of the Buddha is not really conceivable. How can really, while he was single-pointedly, never living that, point of the ultimate truth, and then he still can act, right? And not only that, he can send the emanation at the time. So there is no kind of, what do you call it? Yeah. Huh?
There's no separation.
There's no separation. There's no distractions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at all. So I think when you try to understand that, and then also this comes like a Tantrayana teachings, the radiations, the central, the what do you call it? The clear light, or what do you call it? Yeah, the subtle energies when it activates. And every radiation that touches every element, it can form in the deities. So when he was giving one particular teaching about the one particular deities, and then some other place people can hear he's talking about another deities. So because he can control over every energy, every part of the elements, right? So everything when he was in a monk's form, and he can manifest in another deity's form, because I think that so you can see in the reality and the elements as doing like this. And outside, atoms, the particles, and the sunlight hits and it changes the colors, and then daytime and noontime set different colors, right? Because it's a dependently. So Buddha, from the subtle energies, that is single-pointedly meditate on the emptiness and use those, the outer element and the inner element, the contact of this, and that can form into different different types of the form of the deities. So that's called Buddhas, an enlightened being. So which is not really easy to understand. Yeah. And sometimes people say, oh, this is because of the sentient beings' interpretations. For example, if I'm talking about, the time, if I'm talking about the time, and you are interpreting on your sense of understanding of the time, and you thought, oh, you're talking about the time in the Vibhashika school's standpoint. And then some others interpret, oh, she's talking about the time in minority schools. So this is the different interpretations, different, so the here the Buddhist the qualities of teaching is not others' interpretations. He himself, manifests in many. In the Guhyashapa Samaja Sutras, the Tantra Sutras, from the beginning, there's all the Tantrayana teaching starts by the Vajrapani. So Vajrapani, he insists the Buddha to talk about the Tantrayana. So then, because they are gathering, the Buddha was there, sitting there, and all the Buddha and Bodhisattvas there. In Guhya Samaja, this Vajrapani sees all sorts of manifestation of form around the Buddhas and doing different activities, And the Vajrapani says, this is what I'm seeing. What does that mean? And then can you really, talk on this, the internal, the activities of the energies, how you control over those energies, how you kind of, use them. So how can you manifest those deities? So in the Guhyashapa, from the beginning, Vajrapani have long talk. This is kind of his way of questioning. And the Buddha, in that Vajrapani's Tantrayana teaching, this is excellent. That time. So which means the way kind of, very reluctantly, they say, okay. So, and how through the excellent, with the excited, this is how you should understand that. All the Tathagatas will rejoice, and you are revealing this perfection of the wisdom. So in Tantrayana, oh, okay. So, because there is more possible misinterpretations, because it's not really easy. So yeah, Tathagats is like that. That's and Sugata. Sometimes Suk is the bliss. Gat, Some Indian they reads like Suk, Agat. They said Agat means to reach. You reach in that permanent state of bliss. Sugat. So that's so because it never deceives. So you say it never deceives means yes, this is definitely deceiving the ordinary sentient beings. Yes, it is also deceiving some of the ayas. Yes, it is. There is. It has some kind of conventional reality. Have some kind of how to say. So I'm not for the three areas. It's not possible of being deceived, but from the conventional reality that appears to three areas has function of deceiving. So there's some kind of like when the magician sees his own illusions, right? He understands this is not true, but he also enjoy that in the illusion, the functional illusions, because which means when he get excited, he get enjoying it, and there's some sense of he sees this. There's a something, right? So the ultimate truth here, and our ultimate truths. This has two parts explaining the meaning of the line of the root text, rejecting objection against these explanations. First explain and then reject the against, reject objection. So explaining of the meaning of the line of the root text. The first is followed. Root text is saying, through the force of an eye disease, one perceives the false things, such as floating here and so on. And those which clear vision are what is actually sees what is actually so. Understand the suchness to be like this as well. So I think using the metaphor, so what is the conventional? What is the ultimate truth? What is the conventional called? Why is conventional called deceptive? So it's saying this is like someone who has a cataract, and he sees, the bald man can see the falling here, right? And then this, due to this cataract, he can see the flies where there is no fly at all. He can see things. And the one who has a clear visions sees actually as it is. Similarly, the ordinary sentient beings, every time they see things, they see there's some kind of ultimate nature in the phenomena. Because of their every perceptions, every subject is, born with these misconceptions. So it's not it's still tied up with misconceptions, because of that, and when they sees, like with eye, sees the color, they see the intrinsic, the smell, the intrinsic, sound, intrinsic, even the mentally, intellectual understanding emptiness, ordinary beings. So there's some sense of the intrinsic is still always there, right? So this is like, one with eye disease, one without eye disease. Here the commentary says, now I wish to present ultimate truth because the ultimate truth cannot be expressed by word, because it is not the object of cognitions that follows from the word. It cannot be presented directly to help us elucidate, right, its natures. I will give those who wish to listen and analogies drawn from the ordinary person's experience. So he was kind of humble. So I understand, but this is so. So meaning of the statement, the ultimate truth is not an object of cognitions, is indicated by the phrase. It cannot be presented directly. In Nakso translations, this phrase appears cannot be shown in the direct demonstrations. As to the meaning of this point, there is the following from the clear words. So I think this is like Nagarjuna's chapter 25th, and the 25th. Shene shime shiva, joba namya ma joba. Namdo mede, tade me, tene tene sinye dos. So what is the ultimate? The ultimate nature is not that you're the intellectually understood from others people, right? So Sheneshi means that is not ultimate. It's not like that. It is not like someone who someone who's shown to you. That is not the ultimate. So that's the duplicate, right? Sheneshi. And then says, and how do you know you understand the emptiness? And then says, Shivadans. Because by understanding of the nature of the phenomena, it pacifies, naturally it pacifies the afflictive emotions. Right? Shivadans. So the emptiness you understood intellectually that is imposed by others has no quality of pacification of the afflictive emotions. So you are revealing the ultimate truth has the quality to pacify afflictive emotion. But why the intellectual, the conceptually understanding of the emptiness that is, you understood from others' explanations. Why is it? Because it is still proliferations. It is the concept, it's the projections. Right? So ultimate is not the projections, it's not proliferations. Right? Namdo means when you reveal the ultimate natures, it stops the whole concept. Right? It pacifies whole concept, whole thought. So there is no thought is actively engaging in anything, because because its ultimate is out of reach of any concept, right? So beyond reach of the concept, because the thought is always like the thought engaged in the object by projecting, by painting, right? So when you come to understand emptiness, it's just a space. There's nothing to paint. There's nothing to project. There's nothing to impose, because you are seeing the realities. Maybe you say, kind of total naked. There is no projection at all. And then the ultimate is the one when you reveal the ultimate natures, and tademes means there is no dualistic property in there. So you just you merge in that space, right? So this is the the explanations of what is the ultimate truth. So this is why it's inconceivable, right? And the Naksu translations saying that cannot be shown in the direct demonstrations. So your teachers, the guru, or whatever he explained, and the informations, from the informations, whatever you understood in that informations is not the ultimate truth, because the ultimate cannot be shown directly. So he can use the logic and the reasonings, and you follow that logic and reasonings, then you reach that, right? So if someone, if you want to go to somewhere, and then you ask other persons, how can I go? And he may show you the map. Or you go this or this. So there is no real place in there. Now, by following that, you have to, walk on and the ground, and then you may reach that.
You have to walk on the ground. What does that mean? What does that mean? You know, as you're teaching this too, I'm also kind of comparing this to you know, what I'm familiar with in the Dzogchen approach, which is quite different here. There seems to be disagreement, actually. And I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I'm not saying that. But you know, in the Dzogchen approach, and probably Mahamudra also, there is a said to be a direct introduction, very direct, of the nature of mind. And it's, I won't really mind my understanding how it's done and all that. I shouldn't really talk about that, but there is some kind of, it seems to me, sharing of the non-dual state, but it's not done from the point of view of the teacher is up here and the student is down here. In fact, there has to be almost like a non-dual meeting. But you just used this phrase, I forget now exactly what it was, this student has to kind of, can't exactly paraphrase you very well, but kind of walk some kind of ground to experience this. And again, on this part, there's complete or seemingly complete agreement to me that this is beyond concept. We're talking again. Now, no matter what level you're talking of, at least in the higher yogas, there is some way one experiences this, and it's quite mysterious. I mean, it's not simply something the teacher can give you. When I was studying with a Vietnamese Zen master, there's also, even in that, there's some kind of an introduction. And then when you return to your ordinary state, you may think the teacher has done this to me. You may, because your conceptual mind immediately kind of starts imposing this dualistic framework on what you've experienced. But while you experience it, I mean, I don't want to get simplistic because maybe it's not quite the same in different approaches, how it's experienced, the degree to which it's experienced. Again, we're talking about all these myriad ways of people's different dispositions, and a Buddha somehow, even perception is not quite the word, because perception is a dualistic term.
Yeah.
But the Buddha kind of sees, I mean, it's actually a fictional talk to describe it, because the minute you say the Buddha sees which each person needs, and their different dispositions, you're already talking dualistic language. You're already using dualistic language. But you use some term like the student has to kind of walk this ground. And somehow the student gets to a point where he experience again is the wrong word.
Can you turn on the video? Can you turn on the video?
Yeah.
Camera.
Yeah.
So I want to see your expression.
Oh.
So
I'm afraid it's the same devil that you.
So I have to read your words and your expressions. So, so I can draw a conclusion how confused you are.
Oh, okay. So when we get beyond all this dualistic description of some kind of, it's beyond cognition, it's beyond perception, it's beyond our ordinary subject-object way of perceiving everything we perceive automatically. I mean, in our samsaric state. Somehow, you can't even say we get there. We get there. We get back into that coming and going thing, that coming and going language. And I don't know, somehow, and you get, even the moment you talk about arising is wrong too, because the moment you talk about arising, you talk about dissolution. There's almost no way to get beyond the language. So there is kind of an approach in Dzogchen. There is kind of a way from the Dzogchen view they get beyond this. They talk about it in terms of being spacious, for example, or
being Star Trek.
Not like Star Trek. I haven't seen your ears grow to be like Dr. Spock's. Maybe you're a secret Dr. Spock. We just haven't reached the point where we can perceive it. So what do you mean by the student kind of somehow gets to this ground that's beyond concept and I mean what I do understand is you're talking about, as you understand how we create these fictions more and more from a samsaric viewpoint, it's almost like disarming a bomb. We have these little recognitions and we no longer buy into these fictions as much. We don't buy into the fiction as much. And the more we contemplate that, the more we do that, we start to disarm this samsara. I'll call it a samsaric bomb. It starts to becoming more and more disarmed.
Is atom bomb or nuclear bomb?
It can still go off almost at any stage until you reach maybe the sixth bhumi or something like that. And I think maybe up to the sixth bhumi, maybe you can even relapse. Maybe you can even fall back into samsara and the illusion and lose it all. I'm afraid that's happened to me. I'm becoming more and more stupid and more a worse and worse student. So I don't know. Can you describe this a bit more? This ground, because you're saying it's not conceptual. You can't describe it with words, and yet somehow it happens, and we can't call it a subject-object experience or talk about it even from our conceptual ideas of the elements or whatever.
Yeah, I think this is every day is like for the students in the school. So we all go to school, we study, the teacher teaches us how to live, and how to do things, how to correct things, right? But that is all, it's what do you call it? Yeah, it's just concept. In the real life, you have to apply, you have to do your own way by following those instructions. So when you're receiving all the instructions, all the concept that in your mind at that time, you are not there. You haven't started your journey, but you have all these imaginations, right? So when you start in the real life and start working and start trying to do something, achieve something, and then you are using those instructions. Right? So here, all the explanations, the logic and the reasonings, while you are hearing from the teachers, it's just a concept. It's just the imaginations. We say understand. It's just standing under the imaginations. Yeah. So the ultimate natures, it cannot be someone, put in your mind saying, here, this is the book, this is the emptiness. So it only can teach you or lead you the logic, the reasonings to reach the ultimate truths. So therefore, the ultimate truth that they understand, it is not, the, while you are conceiving, and while you're trying to understand through the logic, right? So yeah, it's like when you look at the YouTube, how to cook, how to bake, you know how to bake the bun, right? So when you're listening, you have some kind of idea in your mind. So at that time, you have no things that you are ready to eat, but you have idea. So then you have to work on the ground by buying the flowers and mixing up the things and the stirring it, and then turn on the stove. So then you can say, oh, this is what this turned into. So I thought this made this happen. This is what I'm saying. I thought, right? So similar here, or the Shen Shimi, what is the ultimate? Yeah. What is the ultimate means how do you know you have revealed the ultimate truth? So then it says the ultimate that you have understood before while you are listening the instructions or the reasoning, right? That is not the ultimate truth. So that is the kind of, how's that? You are collecting the ingredients, right? So not the ultimate truth. Ultimate truth cannot be shown by others. Someone can directly show to you. You have to reveal this. The teacher can give you the tools to reveal that. Right? So therefore, Shen and Shen means the ultimate is not the one who taught you, right, at the time. Right? So then, and then again, I think one part of your question is the dualistic. So So the dualistic is the conventional realities. Dualistic is the conventional reality. Conventional reality is, you can call it fictions, right? So if that is the dualistic is the fictions, you are living in the everyday in the fiction. So every day you are living in, imagination of the past, imagination of the futures, imagination of the time and the present time. So you are living in that. That is the fiction again. So this is the what we can understand. If the Buddha want to, guide us to understand the ultimate or to reach the liberations, he has to use those what we understand. So these the conventional reality. It is the only way, or it is the stairs that you can, step on, and then we can reach the ultimate house. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and then you are kind of backing up that from saying, oh, there is the direct introductions about the ultimate nature of the mind, and the teacher can teach you. Yeah, there is the language they can use. We call simti. Simti means kind of is directing your mind. So teacher is using his word and directing the disciples, the students' mind, and then he can, lead you. He can put you in that position. That is almost never happened in history. But you can, if you follow his instructions, and each students have reached some point at the different. One student understands, oh, he's talking about impermanence. Or one says, oh, he's talking about the compassion. Or he's talking about the natures. Or he's talking about the not thinking anything. So teacher has never successfully lead the mind of the disciple to one, particular positions. So this conventional, so as I mentioned, our thought is like a blind man. Your thought is like a blind man. So the blind man can reach his place that he wished to go, he desired to go, by relying on something else. Some people go by counting the steps, and some people, touch the walls and then can reach. So when the thought, trying to understand something, the meaning, through logic, by relying on the logic, then this thought can understand, get to that point. Without relying on the logic and the reasonings, the assumptions, and then, this is not going to help the thought. It's like one blind man trying to help another blind man. So by relying on assumptions, it's not really, useful at all. So, but still there is some, sometimes I feel like, Nagarjuna's explained emptiness with many reasonings, right? So if you understand trying to understand religiously, so maybe there is no possible. So there is no better not to use the culture of the religion in this, the ultimate ground, ultimate natures. So religiously, you can do the rituals, and you're doing the prostrations, and then some kind of meditations, and the contemplating of the kindness of the guru or something. Then these are useful. When you analytical thinking and trying to understand the actual meaning of emptiness, better not use the culture of the religions. So emptiness has no kind. Emptiness, no compassion to you. And you cannot say, please come to me. I want to meet you. Emptiness, I don't care. So emptiness religiously, it's not possible to understand that.
This raises another kind of question. Me, and that is, of course, I'm hearing what you say. I'm reflecting on, teachings I've received or things I've read, and it's been emphasized by some teachers the importance of aspiration and praying to the Guru. How important this is. Maybe you don't understand, but the importance of praying to the Guru and that having a real kind of power to receive blessing and create some kind of openness or insight, and become somehow more connected to maybe how things work. So
power, the blessings, still is in the part of the religious thinking.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm bringing it up, because it sounds like that can easily be dismissed as just a religious thing, but I think maybe it's superstition on my part, but I think I've had a little experience with this that I recognize, and mostly I don't recognize, but I think there is something to this, however.
You listen, yes. And when you go to, take the monastic vows and become the monk, and we have monastic rules. So the monastic rules that we follow, by following. So then there is some kind of you can find the more time. You can spend more time. We have enough time for study and contemplate. And just by sticking with the monastic rules, not breaking and trying to kind of hold on it, it is not going to liberate you. I'm not going to kill, I'm not going to lie, just by saying it. So there's no possibility to get enlightened. So from now on, I promise not going to kill, I'm not going to lie. And then what you do? I spend more time. Before I busy with this lying and killing, doing bad things. Now I stop that. And now spend the time on studying and contemplating the followers of Buddhist teaching. So I'm not really against the monastic rules. Right. So you say, if you follow the monastic rules, just follow it. And then what is the meaning of it? Not just lying, not killing, and the trees, the rocks, they have the same thing. They don't kill anyone, they don't lie. So your house has never lied to you. So not lying it's not a quality. Not lying is the stopping your negative emotions and then trying to find a way to more powerful antidote to reduce those negative emotions. So the culture, the religion is the basic foundation. So if you kind of lay out the foundations, not building a house, what is the purpose? You may look good. You may look, you have a place. You have So you say you bought the place and you lay out the foundations, and every day you just go and look at, this is my place, and then go back again, come back. This is my place, and then you show to the friend, this is my place I bought. So the culture, religions is the foundations. It is like the tree to grow, the fertilizers to kind of to give the strength to the tree. Don't just collect the fertilizer all the time. Yeah, so not too much focus on, yeah.
Well, I'm very conflicted in this area, I have to say, because on the one hand, we have Shantideva.
Right, because you see, it's like many times when we talk about emptiness, you thought, oh, it against the conventional thought. And when you talk about, non-dualistic, oh, the dualistic is negative. So we are not saying the dualistic is negative. And Buddha has no dualistic perceptions, does not mean anyone who has the dualistic perception is negative things. So it's like, when you have 100 rupees, $100, and then you have, you use that, buy things and sell, and you have $200. So you see the 200 is better than $100. So we are not against the $100. So we still have 200. And then make it more, like 400. We are not against the 200. So we just, keeping them. And we're not, stick with one thing. We just keep moving. So if you only religiously, culturally focus on anything, it is not moving. It's kind of emotional attachment.
Okay, I'm going to persist on this point a bit. Stubborn Larry.
Yeah, I'm not going to feed grass on tiger. So.
I mean, for example, I myself have I've always had a lot of difficulties with the teacher leaves leftover soak, and he's eating this, and all these students are rushing to eat from the teacher's plate. That I've had difficulty with over the years. But on the other side, if we take Shantideva, and he talks about the bodhicitta of aspiration, he talks about it quite a bit before he goes to the bodhicitta of action. So, I mean, obviously he thinks this thing about aspiration, which I kind of equate with in some ways, praying to the Buddha, praying to the Guru. He talks about this as being very important, and then after he finishes talking about that, he says, "Oh, if just the aspiration is so great, then how imaginably great is the bodhicitta of action?" But he doesn't say something like the bodhicitta of aspiration is cultural, it's religious, just forget about it. He doesn't say that at all. So I'm bringing this up because, I mean, you could dismiss it. You could dismiss it, or one could dismiss it as being just religiosity.
I think I have to send you the hearing aid.
You what?
So I have to send you the hearing aid, the best one for the Amazon.
Maybe. I think it's going to take more than a hearing
aid. So I keep saying that monastic rules, the disciplines, culture, religious aspect of the faith and aspirations, we all keep it, but we are not stick with each step. We are not satisfied with, I have it, but I'm not satisfied with this. So I want more. So not just faith, not just aspirations. When you talk about the bodhicitta, if you understand the Buddha, you have to understand ultimate. So bodhicitta to generate Bodhisattva, you have to know the Buddha. So the Buddha means, Buddha is from the transcendence of the suffering. Transcendence of the suffering is from the only way to ultimate truth. So we just keep hungry and going more and more and more. So that's the kind of, the way of the path to enlightenment. So we say, and many times the religious is, we understood here is what you're taught, what culturally, you are, you're taught, and you have adapted some kind of the way of doing, and you're just satisfied with that. You just keep doing that, right? And then it helps you to more friendly with societies. Everybody follows the same culture, traditions, feel comfortable. Oh, this belongs to us. It's ours, people. So that's also in the business field. If you have the same money invested in one place, many people, and we say, oh, we are ours people. We all have money in that place, right? So this not really. There's not much the essence in it. So when there's not much essence in it, means we're not, denying it. We are not saying it is not important at all. We're saying it's not enough. So the religious, the culture, the faith, and the aspirations are all needed, but still it has no, enough quality to reduce the afflictive emotions, to understand the qualities of the Buddha.
Okay, I'm going to depart because I'm like a cow with 4 stomachs.
Yeah,
And
4 stomachs.
One of my stomachs is acting up right now, and I have to make a little run.
So you have a digestive problems. So I think this is just talking about the ultimate truths. So what is the ultimate truth? So that's why ultimate truth, inexpressible. Inexpressible means it does not mean from the language it cannot be explained emptiness. So which means what language has shown or presented the idea of the emptiness is not the real one. So you have to go beyond that, right? So if you say, oh, I want to buy the car, and then you have imagination of the car. So you cannot just satisfy with imaginations. You have to go, right, and bring the money to pay and get the car. Just imagination of the car is not going to help you for riding. Yeah, so it's good that Larry has stopped me to do. Larry is our guru, tutors. So where we were now. Meaning of the statement, the ultimate truth is not an object cognitions, is indicated by the phrase, it cannot be presented directly. Naksu translations, this phrase appears as it cannot be shown in the direct demonstrations. As to the meaning of this point, there is no following from clear words. When Chandrakirti's commented Nagarjuna's statement that suchness cannot be known from others. So in chapter 25, Nagarjuna also at the last in the stanzas, Sanje Kandoyan, Sulanga Chunga Madentos, there's a kind of, that literally it says, so Buddha has not teach, not even utter a word, a letter. So which means, all this, from the 35-year-old to the 81. So all the language that he used to introduce the emptiness, to present the emptiness. So each letter has no meaning of the emptiness there, because language of bread has no bread in it. Language of sugar, the language within the language, there is no sugar at all. So with this language, you understand what is the sugar, right? Which one is the sugar? How you get it? How you mix it? How can make the tea, like milk, right? So this is how you understand. This is why at the chapter 25th, in the last stanzas, even and the Buddha, so what is the exact word for that? Nowhere the Buddha has uttered even a letters. And then this sutras, and then his son, the Rahul, right? Rahul says, the day he enlightened until passing nirvana, Buddha has, not even utter letters, not even teach any dharma. So, which means language, the thought, the concept has no meaning of the. There is no meaning in the thought, no meaning in the letters, the words. Right? So, which means the ultimate is beyond the language, beyond the thought. So, when you understand, when you reveals the ultimate truths, and thought stops, language inactive, because you are seeing something inexpressible, cannot be expressed as it is. So when that ultimate truth, when you come to understand, and with freedom from the afflictive emotions, that is the liberations, right? So without any afflictive emotions, because constant meditating, thinking, and understanding deeper and deeper in the ultimate truths, and it kind of it reduces or weakening and eliminating the afflictive emotions, and then free from the afflictive emotions, constantly focus on that ultimate truths or revealing the emptiness is the transcendence of the suffering. So the liberations is not in the place, it's not talking about the place or somewhere else you go, right? Yeah, so the suchness cannot be shown from others. When someone with, I have difficult understanding pronouncing this, MYODS. I couldn't find this even in the dictionary. What is the myodiso?
See if I can bring it up.
Sounds bad. Sounds like you don't want to get it.
I think it's a eye disease.
Oh,
Is that like, that's not like,
kind of someone with myoditis.
It just means the floaters, the eye floaters.
Oh. So myo disappear? Dysopsia, myodysopsia.
Yeah. Well,
I try to see the dictionary. The dictionary says I don't know. So they see false realities such as the floating hairs, even through the person who, free of the eye as maladies, right, may show him that there are no such floating hair. The other persons remain incapable of perceiving the fact, as it is he is incapable of perceiving the absence of the floating hairs in the way in which the persons without myodiopsia does. So I think, yeah, no blame to Larry. So, yeah, so because if you keep seeing this, the true intrinsic nature in every phenomenon, and how much you're shown is not true, and he keeps seeing it. If you keep seeing intrinsic natures, how can he really accept that? Right? Accept this is not real. So, for the ordinary beings, when they, through the logic and the reasonings, that when they come to understand the ultimate natures, then they understand, oh, these are not truly exist. So after, the revealing the emptiness, then you can understand better the conventional realities. Maya diopsio. So, yeah. So, any questions? Larry's not coming back. So, yeah, no question. Chanju Zemjo Rinpoche, Majebana, Jeju, Gebanyamba, Mebanya, Kone Kondo Kavi. Tonye Tawa Rinpoche, Majebana, Jeju, Gebanyamba, Mebanya, Kone Kondo Kavi. Pamasim Jentamje, Dada Denju, Yedro Tamje Fado Thomas. Chanju Semba, Kanda Sushi, Tadaguja, Molan Juju, Carrera Rubu, Vishinosu, Pena de Woman, Juju. Jerezova, Tinja Suji, Sideba, Tinja.
May the precious Buddha mind not yet from horizon grow. May the born Buddha divine increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet from horizon grow. May the born Buddha divine increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings of all heavens, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. A powerful Trinity is in council. Remain in this world until Samsara.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, May. May, April, June.